Oh, hey, welcome. We have a podcast. You should listen to it. Let us entertain you.
Yeah, we're gonna entertain you like this.
That's that's a little too much energy.
Oh,
Like
okay.
we're not doing accordion. We're gonna be nice and calm. I'm really bad at this. but yeah,
Welcome to the podcast.
welcome to the
Woo!
podcast. Woo!
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Frogs and Grog, the podcast where we fill you in on the most important news of the century, probably. So today, I'm here in the studio to share with you my findings on milk. Now, milk is often used in cereals. It's used in a lot of baking. It's used in coffee. Uh, it's a white fluid. It's good. It's full of dairy. It's awesome. There's so many types of milk. There's nut milk. There's animal milk. There's coconut milk, which I don't even think that's really coconut milk. Doesn't make a lot of sense, but it's still there. Let's see. So what am I talking about specifically about milk today? Well, today I have an outline for what I kind of want to talk about. And this is who is drinking milk. What the problem with the milk drinking industry is, where milk is coming from. And there's a few more topics, but I'll bring those up in a little bit. So let's just start with who is drinking milk. So what I've come across in my studies from the ers.usda.gov, fluid milk consumption continues downward trend, proving difficult to reverse. This is an article on a government website of the Economic Research Service from the USDA, or U.S. Department of Agriculture. So it basically is saying that from 2003 to 2018, U.S. consumers of all ages drank less milk as a beverage. The primary way in which fluid milk is consumed. Now, fluid milk meaning like it's still fluid. Obviously, if they were including baked goods, this would probably still be a lot higher. But it's talking about like eating it with your cereal or just drinking it as a drink. So from 1970s, people were having about 0.96 cups of milk a day. And in 2019, that number is about half. We're at about 0.49 cups of milk a day per person in the US. The guideline for Americans is recommended that individuals consume 2 to 3 cups equivalent of dairy products per day, depending on their age, gender, and level of physical activity. So it seems like we're lower than what we should be. Now, milk as a beverage, per capita consumption of milk as a beverage fell among all age groups in the 2010s. So we see there's a little graph that I have on that it shows. Currently, our milk consumption rates, well, not currently, but 2018, this is old data, it was almost half for most groups of people. And according to the graph, so we have 1 cup a day about is the range that children are drinking. And then as you age more, you actually start drinking less milk. So like teenagers, they're only getting about 0.7 to 0.4-ish cups of milk per day. And adults are drinking even less, with the highest of this whole graph, which was in 2005 to 2006, being 0.44 cups of milk per day. And now it's currently at 0.23. So this means that as you age, you're drinking less milk. It's a pretty similar trend with cereal consumption of milk with cereal, except teenagers are actually still relatively the same as from 2003, but the amount that children are drinking and adults are drinking are way lower with milk. Um, Milk and other beverages is actually where the adults shine the most because they're the highest, which I assume comes from probably coffee and teas and that kind of thing. But or maybe alcoholic beverages, not exactly sure what it means, but apparently adults are way higher amount, and then teenagers are about half of what adults are, and then children are barely even register on the graph with milk and other beverages. So obviously there's a big gap in adults drinking milk. And why is this a problem? Well, it's a problem for the adults not drinking the milk just because the milk has been people who drink more milk generally have better bones. Obviously, it's got the calcium and stuff. Um, but that's like kind of a personal thing. It's your own problem if you're not drinking milk. It's not really anybody else's. So why is it a problem though? Well, I think that a lot of marketing nowadays for milk is actually being targeted towards adults. The milk industry is definitely targeting the adults. um, and why is this a problem? Well, I don't know if you know this, but many fathers leave their home to get milk. I think there's a link between not drinking milk and the advertising toward adults to get milk and the adult parents leaving their children to get milk and never returning. So, according to my little theory, we're going to look a little bit more at where the milk is coming from and where the most milk is like being sold, being produced, and all that kind of stuff. And according to the NASS USDA.gov, which is National Agricultural Statistics Service in the United States Department of Agriculture. This is today's reports on milk production, disposition, and income. It's a 2020 summary. So this one's a little bit newer than the other things. Let me find where I was before. Okay, so the state that has the highest amount of like milk production is it's actually not Wisconsin, which a lot of people, if you're from the United States, Wisconsin is pretty famously known for its dairy and cheese and that kind of stuff. So the highest state with the most amount of milk cows is actually California. In pounds per let's see. That's not the right statistic. Milk used. Okay. Milk used where produced. So in California, in millions of pounds, milk fed to calves is 2.6 million. Milk butter cream is 4 million pounds of milk. So that's 30 million pounds of milk used. And I assume this is probably yearly. Let me search the milk and cream marketing and incomes. Okay, so in California, milk utilized for milk and cream marketing and income was in millions of pounds. It was 40,565 million pounds, which that it's hard to say the exact number because that's a lot. It looks like 40 billion and then 565 million pounds, I think. Could be wrong on that. All milk average returns. So in dollars per CWT, it's returning $18.20, which is pretty fair. I think it's actually lower than a lot of other places. Returns per pound of milk fat. Not sure what that means. Cash receipts for marketing. Not exactly sure what that means. But it has a lot of cash receipts from marketing. It has 7,382,830, and then I guess you multiply that by $1,000, and that's what California has the receipts for. So that obviously a lot of milk being sold in California. Now let's see where the most broken homes are, with like fathers specifically leaving to get milk. And if it's California, I think that might suggest something. So let's see. What state has the most broken homes? All right. So okay, that's talking about home invasion. Hold on. Has the most fathers leaving. Pew Research Center. They're always good. Okay. I don't see any statistics about places. Okay. Let me find most fathers absent. Okay. So this says fatherhood.org. I don't know how good their stuff is, but it says Mississippi is the highest rate. Number 2 is Puerto Rico, even though not technically a state. And then Utah, then Delaware, and then New York City. All right, let's see where these places are ranking up on the milk scale. So Mississippi will be the first one that we look at, as it's the highest. So Mississippi, where was I looking at? Milk used and marketed by producers. So Mississippi has a very low amount fed to calves and a very low amount that's produced. So like milk, butter, cream, and all that kind of stuff. So in millions of pounds that the entire state of Mississippi uses, they only have 2 million pounds used in 2019, I guess. So some of the lowest ones are Rhode Island, which only had 0.1, and let's see, is there any others? Delaware, which had 0.9. Okay, so Mississippi, a relatively big state, actually has like the third least amount of milk being sold and used as compared to all the other states. And it's a big state. The states that have lower milk being used and produced are smaller, like a lot smaller. Like Rhode Island, the smallest US state, is using about a tenth of what Mississippi, a fairly big state, is using. So I think that there is a link between this. We can look and see Utah, millions of pounds used in milk, cream, and butter is only 1, but used to feed calves is 13. So that's not too bad. What were the other states? Delaware. So how does Delaware compare? All right, Delaware. It's also a pretty low state, and I think I had just said that one too. It's 0.9. So, yeah. It seems like all of the states that have low milk production and usage, whether it's for baby cows or for yogurt and all that kind of stuff, the lower a state has with their milk production, the more likely fathers are to be absent from home. And this fits with the typical stereotype of dad's leaving to get milk. And let me explain why. So, the dad's leaving to get milk, but they go to the store, the gas station, and they never find the milk. Because guess what? Big Milk does not have it in those states. So, these fathers have to leave their state to go find milk elsewhere. And, sometimes men get lost. Sometimes dads get lost. And I'm guessing that's probably where most dads end up. They're probably out there somewhere, lost, and don't know where to go. Because they went to their store, their local market, and they did not have milk. So they went somewhere else and got lost. And I think that's where all these fathers are going. So the next thing I would like to look at is how much money gas stations make from milk sales. We'll see if we can find something about that. How much money do gas stations make with milk? All right, let's look and see. This person on fortune.com, I don't know how, oh goodness, I'm not going to use this website. There's too many ads. It might crash my computer. How about this? drfranchises.com. Is owning a gas station profitable? Looks like gas stations are actually going down in value. Further and further along we go. Okay. I'm not seeing... Okay, milk. So profit margins of a typical items at a convenience store. It looks like milk makes up 31% of like the profits for... Is that what this is saying? Okay. It brought in 31% of the profits. Milk did. So it's looking like dads who want to go to the gas stations to get milk, that adds more credit to that because there's so many of them going to gas stations to get milk. And these states who don't produce a lot of milk probably don't have the gas stations or don't have the milk for gas stations. All right. So this is probably going to be a pretty short episode. Oh, it's actually like 20 minutes. Perfect timing. But what I've concluded through my searching today is milk isn't being drunk by adults. So the big milk companies are putting advertisements to adult fathers or adults about that age and saying, oh yeah, drink milk, it's really cool, it's awesome, because there's so few adults who do drink milk. So these adults are like, oh, hey, you know what? I could be cool like my kids and I could drink milk. So they head out to their local supermarket because they want to buy milk. And in these states that are low milk production, like Mississippi, the dads are like, hey, there's no milk at this store. Because again, Big Milk doesn't ship it out to those states. So these dads have to leave their local store and go to either gas stations, which, I mean, they make a large profit on milk, obviously. That's 31% of your profits coming from milk. That's pretty good. So they either have to go to gas stations or out of town, which, if I had to guess, a lot of the fathers who leave probably don't have a good sense of direction, so they end up getting lost and they can never find their way back to their kids, and it's all Big Milk's fault. If you like this episode, please follow the podcast and ask questions in the comments. And I'll be happy to answer them. But I just think that Big Milk is probably responsible for the leaving of, or the diminishing of the nuclear family in America. Anyway, stay groggy and see you in the next one.
Leaving so soon. Hope we see you next time.